Sir, Madam, you may have your seat again. So, ladies and gentlemen, next, let us hear or listen to the welcoming speech or opening remarks that will be delivered by our lovely Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology of Universitas Terbuka. Please welcome Dr. Subekti Nurmawati, MSI.
Oke, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, Rahayu. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Best wishes to all of us. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, on this very fine day and in good health, we can gather in this forum. And it is our privilege that we can join in this event. In visiting lecture in FSC by online and offline. Our Honorable Dr. Rico Ile from Wageningen University, the Netherlands. Our Honorable, there is no Vice Deans. All of the head study programs, especially Dr. Andes Jan Hotman, MSE, as head of agribusiness study program. Our moderator, Ms. Nurul Khatimah, and all visiting FST's lecturers and students who attend in this visiting lecture. Firstly, praise is to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His grace and mercy. This morning we are all able to attend the visiting lecture. Our extraordinary speaker, Dr. Rico, welcome to Indonesia, especially to Universitas Terbuka. Dr. Rico will deliver a topic, the potential of sustainable school lances to food system transformation. This topic is very interesting, I think, because this as a trending topic, I think now, currently, that this program is still debatable, I think. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if we talk from the positive point of view, the sustainable school lances have significant potential to strengthen local food system, I think. By utilizing local and seasonal ingredients, this program can support smallholder farmers, yes, reduce dependence on long supply chains, and also reduce carbon footprint. Furthermore, this approach also encourage local economies to grow in an inclusive and sustainable manner. This program needs contribution of the higher education, included Universitas Terbuka. However, the success of this program certainly requires strong collaboration between the government, school, parents, the private sector, higher education, and the community. Supportive policies, sustainable funding, and innovation in school food management are key to realizing an effective and sustainable school lunch system. Consequently, let us collectively view the sustainable food lunch program as a golden opportunity to build a more equitable, healthy, and environmentally friendly food system with concrete steps and collaboration from all parties. We can create a generation that is not only intelligent, but also cares about the sustainability of the planet we inhabit. We greatly appreciate the contribution of Dr. Rico, who will share his experiences and best practices. We hope that today's visiting lecture will open up opportunities for long-term collaboration that will have a real impact. Finally, we would like to thank all parties who have helped organize this event. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Nurma, but please remain on stage. because we will have a photo session together for the first photo session. Yeah, I would like to invite to Dr. Ile to come to the front to have a photo session, and also all of the participants who are joining us physically here, please come to the front because we will have our first photo session. And I would like to invite to all participants who are joining us through Zoom, please open your camera. We will have our first photo session together here with all of the audience that already joining us here in auditorium. Sekali lagi mohon berkenan kepada seluruh dosen dan juga mahasiswa yang telah hadir di ruang auditorium untuk dapat maju ke depan. Kita akan melakukan sesi foto bersama yang pertama terlebih dahulu. Dan juga untuk seluruh hadirin yang bergabung secara virtual melalui Zoom, kami silakan untuk dapat membuka kamera. Okay, maybe we can have 2 lines. Yeah, okay. Okay. Please squeezing for a while. Boleh merapat Bapak Ibu. Oke. Baik, jangan lupa yang di Zoom juga untuk dapat membuka kamera ya. Kita akan melakukan sesi foto bersama. And I would like to count down from 3 to 1. We have a formal pose for the first pose. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, next we will have the iconic pose of Universitas Terbuka. Salam UT, U with the right hand and T with the left hand. Yeah. Okay, and we will count down from 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you ladies and gentlemen. You may have your seat again. Oke, oh agribisnis. Oke. Bapak Ibu mohon izin, ternyata we have another iconic pose. This is special from Agribusiness Study Program ya. The A pose. The A pose. Okay. Okay, next. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you, sir, madam. You may have your seat again. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Once again, thank you, sir, madam. You may have your seat again. And thanks to you, to all participants who already joining us the first photo session virtually through Zoom and also YouTube. But first of all, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will now continue the main agenda of today's event, that is the visiting lecture session with the theme of the potential of sustainable school lunches for food system transformation. And it is a big issue in Indonesia right now about the school lunches food system transformation. And also in this session, we will listen to the presentation that will be delivered by our honorable speaker, the Associate Professor Dr. Rico Ile from Wageningen University and Research from Netherlands. And for this session, I would like to give attention to all participants who are joining us virtually through Zoom. First, please open your camera and turn off your microphone during the presentation session. If you have any question, please write it down to the Q&A section or the chat box at Zoom with the format your name _ your institution or UT daerah. And then write it down by your own question. Or to all participants who are joining us virtually, if you want to ask directly to our speaker, you can have the raise hand feature in Zoom. And also it is expected to all participants who are joining us physically here and also virtually through Zoom and YouTube to fill the attendance form with the link that will be shared by the committee at the end of today's event. So ladies and gentlemen, this visiting lecture session will be moderated or guided by one of the lecturer from Agribusiness Study Program, Ms. Nurul Khotimah, MSE, and I would like to invite Ms. Nurul Khotimah come to the front. So Ms. Nurul Khotimah, this session is yours now.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our respected Dean of Faculty of Science and Technology, Dr. Subekti Nurmawati, and all of the participants who joining virtually and physically in this room. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today? I hope you are always happy and healthy. Thank you for attending this visiting lecture at this auditorium of Faculty of Science and Technology, and thank you for all participants who joining virtually via Zoom and YouTube. My name is Nurul Khotimah. It is a great honor for me to be moderator for this visiting lectures. I will invite Dr. Riko Ile to joining me in front of audience. Please, Dr. Ile. Please. Okay, we will have around 40 minutes lecturing this morning with Dr. Riko Ile from Wageningen University and Research, Netherlands, particularly on potential of sustainable school lunches for food system transformation. Regarding that, this topic is highly relevant to the global challenges today, where food systems are expected not only to ensure the food availability, but also sustainability and social equity. Before we start, let me introduce Dr. Ile first. Dr. Riko Ile is Dr. Riko Ile is an associate professor of agriculture and rural policy at Wageningen University and Research, specializing in food economics, agriculture policy, and global food system. He has published over 10 scientific works, served as an adjunct professor at Universitas Pajajaran, and is currently the Secretary General of the Agri-MBA Network with extensive international experience in research and teaching. He graduate PhD program in agriculture economics, George August Universität Göttingen, Germany. He expertise in agriculture economics, agriculture policy, development economics, cat conflict, dairy farming, food policy, and so on. What so many expertise, Dr. Ile. He has so many work experiences and teaching experiences. What an amazing profile, Dr. Riko Ile. How are you, Dr. Riko Ile? Have you heard about Universitas Terbuka before?
I heard about it, right? I think the university has a very unique model.
Yes, because actually we are different than another university in Indonesia because we practice distance learning or distance education. So it's not limited by time and place.
Yeah.
Currently, we have more than 700,000 students spread across all regions in Indonesia. So technically, we are the biggest university in Indonesia. Give applause to Universitas Terbuka. How many students who joining out? Okay, let me see. 55. Yes, because they are maybe still working. Okay. Without any further ado, I invited Dr. Ile to deliver his presentation. Dr. Ile, time is yours.
How do I manage my slides?
You can move your slides to this one.
Okay. I think I stand. I prefer to stand over there. Let me go there. So, good morning, everyone. Selamat pagi. It's a pleasure for me to give you this presentation today. That's also my first time at the Universitas Terbuka. I have been working a lot with Universitas Padjadjaran, and I'm still working a lot with Universitas Padjadjaran, and I'm very excited to be at your university and to get to know your unique model of teaching and education. Yes, the title of my talk today was already mentioned, the potential of sustainable school lunches for food system transformation. I think for Indonesia right now, with MBG program almost being 1 year old, that's really important, right? Because the intention of the MBG program is of course very ambitious, but implementation for a large country like Indonesia with 80 million students, that's difficult, right? And so the program in itself, of course, delivers food to the beneficiaries, to the pupils, to the pregnant women, and so on. But of course, in medium and long run perspective, there's much more which the program can deliver except of nutritional value. And basically, I will talk about those additional perspectives beyond nutritional value today mainly. This is work, you see, it was mentioned, so I'm working at Wageningen University, but you see, this is not, where's the pointer? Does it work? Can you see this? Yes? So, which one? No, but the pointer, no, okay. But the pointer is visible? Okay. Look, I have a secret weapon with me, always. So, that's not Wageningen University, because this research has been done with colleagues from Italy, from the University of Bologna, and Mara Petruccelli, who has been also a PhD student at the University of Bologna and now working in Switzerland in Agroscope. And this is joint research with them. So that's not only my research, this is a research collaboration. And that's why we are using, because most of the colleagues of our team are from the University of Bologna in Italy, we are using the slide template of the University of Bologna. So, in case you have any questions, feel free to ask me during my presentation, or then we can have a Q&A session afterwards. Right now, or in the past 5 to 10 years, global food system transformation has been a huge topic due to several reasons. And in the last 4 to 5 years, there have been new initiatives set up, like the UN Food System Summit in 2021, the UN School Meals Coalition, and also the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. And all of them, they are basically aiming at making sure the concept of school lunches is used to its full benefit in all countries worldwide. So no matter how rich or how poor the country is, it should be used in all countries. And the UN Nations Food System Summit in 2021 basically has emphasized that the sustainability transformation of food systems is really crucial in order to reach the SDG agenda in 2030, right? So now we have 2025, 25 is done, so we have only a few years to get there. The School Meals Coalition, that's also an initiative of the United Nations in which 108 countries basically committed under the leadership of the UN World Food Programme to support school meals implementation worldwide in order to get here, to reach the SDGs. And a third initiative, international initiative, is the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact. This is an NGO initiative in Italy, in northern Italy, with 270 signatory cities which are working on a city level, not at the country level, in order to really make sure the cities can benefit the most from school lunches. And in all three of those initiatives, of those global initiatives, school lunches are highlighted as an exceptionally cost-effective investment in national development. And this holds for Italy as it holds for the United States, as it holds for any country worldwide. Because even in the United States, you might have read this from the news, right? So nutrition security is an issue in the United States. There are about 40 million people who have not enough food in the United States. Also there, that's a challenge, an ongoing challenge. So, which means school lunches are a major opportunity for sustainable food system transformation. And this has been shown scientifically. And now the question is, how can you make it happen? So, how can you make it happen? First, the goal is to promote enhanced nutrition and health of children. So that's, of course, the direct effect of those school lunches. So worldwide, about 500 million children receive school meals. But, of course, so this is like the immediate short run benefit, right? And next, medium and long run benefit is that school lunches are also able basically to change the mindset of children for their whole life. Basically to affect or to change the nutrition habits of the children until they get adults and for their whole life, so that they will also basically, with their children, consume more sustainable food. So the idea is, in the long run, those school lunches are also able to shape attitudes, knowledge, and behavior, and to change that to a more sustainable trajectory. And then, so this is on the output side, right? So this is the effect of school lunches, short-run effect, medium and long-run effect. But, of course, you have to get the food from somewhere. And it has already been mentioned in the nice introduction that procurement you can also use, because it's the whole idea of delivering school lunches at country level, right? That's a huge economic factor. So the procurement, you can use basically the procurement to also incentivize sustainable agricultural production, which is helpful for achieving the SDG goals. So worldwide, about $50 billion are spent, and 1,500 jobs are created for every 100,000 children receiving the lunches. And especially in Indonesia, where you have strong differences in livelihoods, right, between urban and rural areas. So that can be a really big economic factor, basically improving the economic perspectives and the income of the rural communities. So, and those kind of chances, I would call them, are basically highlighted in several of those publications. So there is this International School Meal Coalition. It's a very interesting website. I would highly recommend to visit it. So the goal is that all children worldwide receive nutritious school meals until 2030. And that's a very recent publication which gives also a global overview. That's the state of school feeding worldwide 2024, which was published in September this year by WFP, the World Food Programme. If you are interested, feel free to read there. It's a very interesting and comprehensive analysis of the current state of school feeding worldwide. So, what are the benefits? Right? We have seen already those three major categories, but if we break that down, what are the specific benefits of school lunches for national development? So why are those lunches an exceptionally cost-effective investment in national development? And those benefits are basically also explained and outlined in more detail in this report. So if you have time, feel free to have a look at that. So first, the first obvious benefit is to improve, besides the nutrition of the children, the learning outcomes of the children. And of course, this is very beneficial in the long term for the children, because they will just be better at school, get more knowledge, be more productive later in their adult lives. Second, it's a comprehensive and effective social safety net, especially for the poor parts of the population, right? So those people who are struggling with daily lives, if you then can support the school lunches of their children for free by government money, that's a great investment in the future of those children. It creates jobs in rural and disadvantaged areas, right? We had this number 1,500 jobs per 100,000 school lunches served. It improves the diets and the health, and also teaches children in terms of hygiene and improves food security. And in the long run, those kind of meals are able to make a durable shift towards a friendly, lifelong nutrition habits. And it creates also added value for smallholder farmers and small and medium enterprises via local procurement. But this is, of course, a question how you will design a program that actually the local businesses can indeed profit from that. And it serves girls and women's empowerment, because, of course, women are play a very important role in the schools and in rearing up the children. And last one, I would add to this, which is not contained in this report, is basically school lunches. If you design them in a suitable way, they can also basically serve for maintaining and promoting regional and national culinary heritage. Especially, and this is an important point of Indonesia, right? There are so many islands with so many different food traditions, and then you can actually use the idea of the MBG to favor and to promote the regional culinary heritage. So, if you take all this together, the socioeconomic benefits for society from each dollar or from each 10,000 rupiah invested into school lunches are about 3 to 9 times higher. So that's really a good investment, right? So you invest 10 or let's say 1 million rupiah and you get 3 to 9 million rupiah back in terms of societal value. That's really a great investment. So let's maybe first have a look at school meals globally. What is the picture there? Here we have a map of children receiving school meals around the world with the latest available data from 2022. So the darker the color, the darker the blue, the more children per country are receiving school lunches. So this is not shares, this is total number of children. And you see, because this is data from 2022, when MBG did not yet exist, Indonesia has a very light color because it barely existed, right? So when this will be updated, so Indonesia will be also one of those countries with a dark blue, right? So you see here in North America, United States, Mexico, Brazil, China, India, Pakistan, Russia, Turkey, France, and some African countries, there are living the most children receiving those free school lunches. And the countries in which the increase of children receiving school lunches was highest since 2022 was Canada, Ukraine, and Indonesia in international comparison. Yeah? And of course, so the population of Canada, I think it's only 35 million, so the number of, and the population of Ukraine is also about 35 million, so the number of school children here and here together do not even add up to the 80 million in Indonesia, right? So the Indonesia will basically, the implementation of MBG in Indonesia will bring forward the national delivery of school lunches at the global level by a very big step. So, what's the focus of this presentation? Basically, those aspects. Because the school lunches, so they will not have those benefits automatically, right? So the challenge is to basically design the delivery of the school lunches in a way that you make sure that those benefits are generated. So, and in order for making sure that those benefits are generated and that it will basically deliver also the sustainability benefits, you need to have monitoring of the sustainability performance. And I will mainly base this presentation on this recent paper, research paper of us in a Journal of Cleaner Production, which basically develops a monitoring tool which is able to measure the sustainability of school lunches. And then I will also quickly talk about this, because if you look at those school lunches, it makes a big difference how the food is delivered to the children. Because children are picky, right? Children, at least in Europe, children do not like to eat vegetables. Although the government would like to eat them vegetables because that's the most healthy and the most sustainable food. So there is some problem there, right? So that's why we did also a research on how you can try to convince children by the type of food delivery to eat more vegetables. Because you cannot talk to them, right? I mean, they are small, they don't understand it yet. So you have to present the food in a way to them that they naturally are inclined to eat more vegetables. And then the third aspect I will talk about is basically the role of short food supply chains. Because only via short food supply chains you can make sure that the school lunch programs basically realize those benefits for the local economy in the areas, right? If you import the rice and so on from other production regions, yes, then the children in your village get enough nutritious food, but the farmers in the village will not profit. So the way that they can profit is basically via short food supply chains. And all those three publications, they are all open access, so you don't need any license to read them, so feel free to download them and to have a look at those research papers. So those will be the main focuses of my presentation today. Now, what did we find in those three research papers? In terms of sustainability monitoring, we develop in that paper the first operational and ready-to-use sustainability monitoring tool for policymakers and for school authorities to measure sustainability of school lunches, accounting for nutritional, environmental, and social dimensions. And this will be measured basically with numbers, and then the school authorities can get one number per school, and then they can compare which schools are doing it better, which schools are doing it less good, and then basically they can go into the schools, talk to the schools, and make sure that all schools will increase their performances. So, for the behavioral interventions, when we did research on this, we basically looked at the largest and most diverse sample of schools, also in Italy, and by having 26 schools for this experiment involved, we basically reached a very unprecedented internal and external validity. So we really measured what we wanted to measure, and by looking at the experiment at 26 schools, we are also able to generalize those results. And in this third research on procurement practices, basically we create an exhaustive database on the benefits of short food supply chains. So SFSC is short food supply chains. There has been lots of research on those short food supply chains. And we bring in this paper all those benefits together so that also the governments basically have some overview. If I want to promote short food supply chains, what kind of benefits may I actually be able to reap from this? And we also link those benefits to global policy goals. Global policy goals are basically the SDGs, so specific SDG targets, right? So we analyze what are the benefits of those short food supply chains and for which SDGs are they relevant. And also in the Millennium Urban Food Policy Pact, they had something similar like SDGs, recommendable actions, and we also analyze how do those benefits link to those recommendable actions. So, details on some sustainability monitoring, because this is basically the core to ensure for the authorities that the system is working well, right? And that the money, which the public money which is invested into any school lunch program, whether this is Indonesia or in Italy, is really used to the benefit of the economy and of the society. So, what are the main insights which we got from this research? First, so the school food environments, so the school food catering, is crucial for the consumption behaviors of children. So if you really design them in a way, children feel comfortable to eat vegetables, to eat fruit, they will do it. And they will basically, because they do that over many years, so they get used to eat many vegetables and many fruit, which is good for them in later life, right? Both for health and productivity and so on. So how did we develop this monitoring tool in Italy? So we basically gathered school lunch experts, people working in their daily life with school lunches, and had focus group discussions with them in order to learn what they think, what is important to be evaluated for school lunches, right? And this depends from country to country. In Italy, people appreciate food similarly much as here in Indonesia, and they love their food. But of course, the priorities of the society in Italy might be different from the priorities of society here in Indonesia or in some other country. So we talked to those experts and asked them, what is important to measure? And not only one, because of course that could be a private opinion, right? So we wanted to have a consensus from those experts in order to have a general idea, what are their preferences. Based on those discussions which we had, those structured discussion, we developed this monitoring tool, which is basically a scoring tool and has 3 parts of evaluation. It's nutritional, environmental, and social. And for nutritional, it's 23 indicators, 10 environmental indicators, and 9 social indicators. You see, economic indicators are not a part of that. Why? Because those experts, they thought the food can be reasonably cheaply delivered in Italy, so we do not have to worry about price. So what their consensus was, let economics out of there, no problem. But of course, this might be different in other countries, right? So the indicators, those, it's 33, it's 42 indicators in total, right? 23, 10, and 9. So they measure different aspects of those school lunches. Not only nutritional, but also environmental and social aspects. How well do the schools perform in all three dimensions? And we also look at, if you would like to implement this approach in other countries, talking to the experts and then from this developing some mechanism, how would that look like? And basically, that's why we include also sensitivity analysis to assess how transferable this approach is to other countries and to what extent it's scalable and adaptable to the preferences of other societies. So, that's a big, how much time do I have? 50 minutes, right? 40 minutes, okay, so 50 minutes left. So, which means we cannot go in detail into this table. You can download the paper and look at it. Let me just, so the bottom line of this table is basically, it shows different monitoring approaches which have been published before our paper. And you see there are top-down approaches and there are bottom-up approaches. The paper I'm talking about is here. What does it mean top-down? So top-down is like the government wants to analyze this, this, and that. So the government basically gives those aspects to analyze. Or the scientists want to analyze this, that, and that. But they do not talk to the people which are actually affected by it. Right? So this would be top-down. So there are some benefits, and we write about some of those benefits of those approaches. But ideally, of course, you want to have a bottom-up approach. Because you want to have that the local people are happy with the school lunches, right? That the teachers in the school are happy with the school lunches. That the mothers are happy with the school lunches. So you have to talk to them in order to understand when are they happy, right? And this is basically a bottom-up approach. So you see, what we did is basically here, and there are more top-down approaches. So we do not have time to go in detail. But if there are questions, I'm happy to answer questions about that in the Q&A. Oops, yes. So, now, how did we do that to develop such a bottom-up approach? First thing, and that's a general methodological approach which you could follow, right? So first, you have to define what sustainability means to you. And this depends on the country, right? So what sustainability means in the Indonesian background context is different from the Italian context, is different from the context in Ukraine, is different from the context in the United States. So you have to define that and write that down, and then also what does that actually mean, right? So what are the sustainability principles which follow from those values? Then, what we did, to talk to those food sector experts, asking them, yes, what should be measured? And they said, nutrition, environment, society, economics should not be measured, right? I just explained. So it's 3. It can be different in Indonesia, it can be more, it can be different ones, can be different, right? Then, what we did is basically so this was done with the authorities in Italy, with the school authorities in Italy, so they were involved from step 1. So, in step 3, we basically went to the schools and analyzed how are the lunches delivered to the children in the schools. And to our big surprise, this is very different, even in one region in Italy, right? So that's For Indonesia, that's a small region with maybe about 8 million people, right? That's tiny. But even for the schools in such a small region, the implementation of school lunches differed a lot. But we basically wrote all this down, and then we talked again to the sector experts. So given our sustainability values and the principles and the targets, how should we measure those three targets? What kind of indicators should we use to measure the nutritional sustainability of school lunches? What kind of indicators should we use to measure the environmental sustainability and the societal sustainability? Okay, so then, and this is the most challenging step, because you have to talk a lot to them, and basically they will not have all the same opinion, right? So you have to talk to them a lot in order to understand what's the common opinion among them. So it is basically broken down into 4 steps: building a relationship, establishing working practices, establishing a common understanding of the challenge, and planning and taking action. So, what was the outcome of this discussion? It was basically this. So, what was the sustainability approach? Sustainability values, system-based problem framing, boundary spanning structure, adaptability, inclusiveness, and transformative capacity. I do not have time because time is limited. That just the overview. What were the sustainability principles which we wanted to follow? Food system thinking, One Health, and participatory science. So the 3 sustainability targets we have seen. And then the context for the evaluation was basically to have an objective assessment of the sustainability approach and level of the school food. And this was determined by participatory action research. Right, so here we have the goal, value judgments, then we have the co-definition of the targets, and then we have the specificities. How to actually, so what kind of, how can we measure what we want to measure? And then you have to really put there some effort in order to work it out. So, and the result, this is basically a visual representation of the monitoring tool. Let me check the time. Okay, 7 minutes to go. So, you have to start reading from here and going in this direction. This is the total score. So if a school has maximum sustainability in nutrition perspective, environment, and social perspective, a school can reach 75 points. From those 75 points, maximum 23 can come from nutrition, 40 come from environment, and 12 can come from social sustainability. So basically, the tool not only allows to evaluate the total sustainability of the school, but it can also analyze what's the partial sustainability of the school concerning nutrition, concerning environment, and concerning social sustainability. Okay, so those are the maximum points for all those 3 dimensions, and then you see here how this splits up. For the nutritional sustainability, there are 23 indicators. Each indicator has a weight, maximum weight of 1. For the environmental sustainability, you see there is indicators, it's 10 indicators, E1 until E10. And for the social sustainability, there are 9 indicators. And these were basically the choices, not our choices, but the choices of the school meal experts. And it's different people school meal experts, right? So from schools, from authorities, from business caterers, and so on. And they had to basically come to one agreement. And that's the result of that. So basically this is the consensus in the Italian context. How the evaluation tool looks in Italy. Of course, how could it look like if there is a country with differing priorities, societal priorities? How would that affect actually the aggregation outcomes, meaning the aggregation from this to here? Because those kind of measurement scales mean that each indicator has certain weights. So scientifically, that's a choice of those people in Italy, but this choice will differ in different countries. So the question is, to what extent is the tool, this evaluation tool, transferable to other regions? And this is transferability. Second, scalability. To what extent is the tool transferable to larger regions? Because those regions in Italy are relatively small, with only 7 or 8 million people. Adaptability. How easily can the tool be retailored to reflect different priorities? So, what we did here, and again, I just summarize this. We have the baseline, which you just have seen. That's a tool for Italy, and 3 scenarios, A, B, C. So in scenario A, each indicator has exactly the same importance. In our scenario, which we have here, not each indicator has the same importance. Environmental indicators are for the society in Italy more important than nutritional and social indicators. And economic indicators are not important at all because they take it for granted. So if each indicator has the same importance, what would happen? Second, if we take the approach of the United System, of the United Nations, how would then the aggregation look like? And third, what is the legally prescribed minimum? Because what the school lunch experts have chosen here, that's not law. What they have chosen there is what they think Italy should achieve in terms of sustainability improvement. That's not law, right? So we have also one scenario where we also look at the minimum legal requirements. So, and then maybe let me go through that because that's rather technical and our time is up. Important is maybe this. So, here you see the weights of the indicators for our monitoring tool. So you see green is environmental, yellow is social, and blue is nutritional, right? And then you see the aggregated importance for the evaluation in the end. So the aggregated importance is always the difference between this and the next step. This and you see the difference between here and here, here and here goes smaller and smaller and smaller, right? And from the colors you see that in Italy, what I just said, the green bars are here. So for Italy, environment is most important. So educate the children at school for environmentally friendly diet and environmentally friendly behavior. So in those other 3 scenarios, you see this looks very different, right? And then you see if you choose this, then nutritional, each indicator has the same weight, and nutritional indicators come first because it's the most number of indicators, it's 23, right? So this is 23, this is 10, and this is 9. And then here you see also how this would actually change the aggregation if we have those other scenarios. But that's rather technical, so let me quickly go through that. Now, policy relevance. This tool which we developed for Italy and which is basically also adaptable for the Indonesian context, is currently adopted by the authorities in this region where we did the research as a binding commitment. So the school authorities in this region of Emilia-Romagna, it's law that all schools are being evaluated annually using this tool in order to find out what is their progress of sustainability, what are the best practices of sustainable school lunches, and where are points and need for improvement for sustainable school lunches. In terms of the behavioral interventions, the specific experiment which we carried out did not show in all schools the same effect. So basically, our recommendation was in the end not to upscale this certain change of school meal delivery to the children. And concerning the procurement practices, the knowledge between the links between the short food supply chains and the SDGs basically enables policymakers to strategically use short food supply chains as a goal in order to achieve a number of sustainability targets, of SDG targets in the regions, in the rural regions. Yeah? Which gives basically it's an indirect way of social and economic policy for those rural regions, but it's a very sustainable one because everybody gets happy from that, right? So the children get happy from that, they get good school lunches, and also the farmers and the traders and the kitchens get happy because they have employment. Nice, right? So, what's the implication of that for the science policy agenda, right? So for basically the interaction between science and policy, and this is ordered from regional to international. This tool which we developed is a sort of living lab. You might have heard the term, right? So it's a good idea to set up those living labs because they make sure that the people which have to work in their daily businesses with the school lunches will feel ownership. And this is basically what the government wants, right? So the government wants that the system will work without having to monitor, so that the people themselves have a high interest to implement excellent school lunches. How can you do that? Only if you take those stakeholders into the research and into the decision-making process. So the results of those living labs can have immediate and tailored effect on policy making at the regional level. Yeah? So people identify much more with the school lunch, they feel much more committed, and they will voluntarily work harder in order to make it excellent. Second, the heterogeneity of how the school lunches are delivered, even in regions at province level or regency level, means that the success of school lunches is not ensured. So the stakeholders at regional and at local level need to mobilize in order to talk to each other. So how can we do that in the best way? Because otherwise everybody is making their own choices and performance might differ more than you expect. Third, rigorous methodologies, as I just explained, applied to basically offer a replicable basis to strengthen the strategic use of school meals across Indonesia and whole ASEAN and worldwide. Right? But you have to be rigorous, and I explained one idea of that, how you could do that. Conclusions, my very last slide, and then I'm done. and further research needs and ideas. So, school meals have a huge and multi-dimensional potential in order to transform food systems into a more sustainable trajectory and to improve the quality of life in the end. For the success of Indonesia's MBG program, comprehensive scientific expertise and insights are needed, just because Indonesia is so huge, right? I mean, even Java is 150 million people, that's huge. That's bigger than any European country in terms of population, and that's only Java. But there are the remote islands too, right? And they also, of course, the children on the less populated islands, they also deserve school lunches at the same level of Java, right? High quality and so on. But that's, of course, difficult. Apply and develop available rigorous methodologies, because those insights, they need to be based on quality science. Otherwise, they are very shaky, right? And you cannot trust the results. So, and if you have those methodologies, and they are existing, so I have presented examples, and there are more, of course, then they allow you to gain understanding of the facilitating factors and of the barriers for school meals catering across Indonesia. That would be good for the government, right, and for the authorities. And also gain understanding of the positive and negative, direct and indirect effects and implications of the school lunches bringing to the people in Indonesia, right? Because those effects will be different from the benefits the school lunches are bringing to the society of Italy, because just preferences are different. So, and with this knowledge, with this scientific knowledge, you can, of course, then also optimize the catering and the procurement processes, right? Because if you know the facilitating factors, if you know the barriers, oh, that's great. So you can communicate with the government in order to develop guidelines so that the procurement will be also achieve maximum sustainability and maximum economic benefits in the rural areas, taking regional and local particularities into account. So, this will be some ideas for further research in Indonesia in this context. So also here, having environmental, social, nutritional sustainability, but also economic and food security, right? So especially for the economically weaker populations. So how much does it help them, right? How much does it improve their quality of life that the government is basically delivering those free school lunches? That's an important part of the research needs, I think, for Indonesia. Second, also for Indonesia, what is the potential to integrate short food supply chains into MBG? Yeah? What are ideal practices in order to generate maximum economic benefits at rural area from MBG? Because then, I mean, this will be perfect for the government, right? It's not only improving the nutrition and the sustainability of school lunches, but it's also creating economic income and improving livelihoods in rural areas. Whew, perfect, right? So you get like more than one benefit with one policy. This is perfect from government perspective, right? And last, how to maximize. So these are already benefits, right? But you could think broader, of course, how to maximize the benefits of MBG for Indonesia. So, bottom line, Indonesia can not only become a world leader in the delivery of school food, but also in the research about school food. Thank you very much for your attention.
Please give a big applause for Dr. Ile. Thank you very much, Dr. Ile, for your presentation. I hope we gain new knowledge from what he has shared. We start Q&A session, Dr. Ile, for following 30 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any points you would like to discuss or any question, please raise your hand. And for online participants, please type your question in the chat box if you have any question. Bapak Ibu, is there any question? Oh, okay. Bu Ila first.
Thank you for my question is about to look from the nutrition because the three aspect food, environmental factors, social economy and nutrition. Because I think I want to try to because food consumption is influenced from taste and eating habits. Yeah. What is the strategy to minimize food waste? Yeah.
Good question. Yes.
Yeah, because the factors such as people's nutritional behavior hasn't been well developed. Maybe you can some strategy to solution this problem.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. That's an excellent question. So what we did in this research, basically, where we put in this research about Italy, which was published in Food Policy, it's also public access. You can read about details there. So Italy has the same concern. So the government in Italy also had the same question. How can we limit food waste? In Italy, the problem, I mean, they did already some preliminary analysis, and then they found, so the main source of food waste in Italy is vegetables. So the children are throwing away what they should eat the most. So that's why we did basically the research in cooperation with the Italian government to find out, yeah, how can we both increase the consumption of vegetables so that children will like vegetables more, and at the same time, if they like vegetables more, we will have less food waste. So we have, again, we reach two goals with one idea, right? But this turned out to be very different from school to school. So there is, even in a small region with 7 or 8 million people, it's very difficult to really have their one solution. Why? Because the schools differ a lot, you know, like the school aulas where the children eat differ. The food is served in different ways. Some schools have some educational material there, others don't, and so there are many details in which the schools differ. In order to achieve reduction of food waste, that's basically a need for research in Indonesia, because it depends on the country, even in Italy. So it depends on the country and even on the schools. So first is basically to really do a detailed analysis for Indonesia, for MBG, how much food waste is generated, what are the sources, is it the rice, is it the vegetables, is it the fruit, is it the milk, what is it, right? And then what you can do, and we describe this, maybe you want, I would recommend you to read this. You find the link to this here. That's a link to here. Because via those living laboratories, you can then design experiments, scientific experiments, with which you can try to optimize the delivery of the school lunches, which means also the minimization of food waste. But this depends on country to country. And even I would actually guess for Indonesia, it depends heavily on the province. Because like eating habits in Banten maybe are similar to West Java, but West Java and East Java and then Papua, it differs so much, right? So I think this is a huge research need for the academia in Indonesia, at least at province level, you know, to understand what are the factors, why are the children not eating the lunch, and how can we basically convince them, nudge them to choose. So what we did here, what we did in this research basically, in Italy there are 3 or 4 courses for the lunch. And the vegetables are always served as a side dish at the 3rd or 4th place. So the children get a starter and then the main dish, and then additionally to the main dish, they get the vegetables. So what we did here is basically in 26 schools, so 13 with experiment, 13 without experiment. So in 13 of the schools, with the schools together, we served the vegetables first. Because the idea was, if the children come hungry to the lunch break, then they will be more hungry and they will eat what they get served first, right? But that didn't work out. For some schools, yes. For some schools, it reduced food waste, but not for all of them, right? So you have, and that's a big call for the role of Indonesian science, what I also mentioned on my last slide. Oops, no. Here, right? So in terms of research needs, so identifying the sources of the food waste, and then basically thinking about creative ways to make children, or to deliver the food to the children that they will waste less. And this depends a lot. There are no general rules. Yeah?
The second question is from, please mention your name, please. Mention your name first.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Nurul. Thank you, Dr. Gehel, for the insightful presentation. My name is Nisa from Agribusiness Study Program. So I would like to ask, based on your experience, what are the most effective strategies for implementing sustainable school lunch programs? How can low and middle income countries or areas or districts overcome financial and logistic barriers to sustainable school lunch?
Right. And this, again, depends on the country, I have to say. Because of course, I mean, even here in Java, right? I mean, there are the mountains and there is the lowland, and logistics, I mean, just differs because of landscape, right? So there is no general answer. But I think a good approach would be to talk to the province governments, right? And to really agree with them. So what are our goals? And those goals can be different for Banten and for West Papua, right? Because landscape, culture, eating habits, many things differ, right? So I think it's not good, because Indonesia is so huge and so diverse, you cannot agree on this on national level, because you will have too many interests and there will be no consensus, right? But at provincial level, it will be possible, right? And there, I mean, what you can do, you go into scientific literature and you can read, then you get there many ideas for sustainable, for the design of sustainable school lunches. So for example, if you want to have there, you know, the aspect of short food supply chains pretty much highlighted, I think the provincial governments will be very interested in working with you in order to set up schemes. And and if you have then found some scheme which works for the province, for some farmers, right, for some experimental farmers, then you can apply it to the whole province. And I think everybody will be happy. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Ile. Is there any question? Okay, from Pak Bayu.
Oke, tes 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Dr. Ile, for the insightful presentation. That very curious question that I have. The first is your presentation highlight the importance of indicator design in capturing the sustainability of school meal programs. It's also how policy objectives and local realities may not always align, especially in diverse food system contexts.
Right.
Considering Indonesia's strong regional diversity in food system, do you think that a bottom-up indicator approach be more effective than a standard top-down model? And
can you repeat your question? I didn't hear.
do you think that a bottom-up indicator will be more effective than standard top-down? And
yes, I think for Indonesia, like bottom-up will be is the way to go, just because it's so diverse, you know. I mean, for small countries like the Netherlands is a small and very homogeneous country, right? So, in terms of, the Netherlands in comparison is 1/4 of the area of Java and 1/8 of the population of Java. So it's tiny, right? So in the Netherlands, if you have a homogeneous country, and many countries in Europe are small and homogeneous, then you can do top-down, right? But for Indonesia, with as many islands, with so many food traditions, I think it's better to have their bottom-up approach in really, because what you want, of course, is also, from a government perspective, of course, there is some value in doing some monitoring, but there is no benefit in doing too extensive monitoring because it costs too much money, right? And the money is better used for other purposes. So, of course, some monitoring is good because you also want to make sure that the system works well, and also you want to, so that the public money in Indonesia is used well, but also you want to show to the world, oh, look, we are doing a good job, and you can learn from us, right? And you can only do that with good monitoring. But you cannot invest huge efforts into the monitoring. It would be easier, because if you do a bottom-up approach, right? And you get then that the people are committed at local level. Then you don't need monitoring, right? Because they want to do the best for their community. That's perfect. And then the government, so by having the bottom-up approach, the government can save lots of money, lots of effort. You know, I think that would be a very smart way to go.
thank you. But maybe with your experience, maybe the strategy for a government to what the strategy for the government to make effective for bottom-up? What the strategy that you can explain about your
for the bottom-up?
Yes.
I mean, I explained basically the main ingredients, right? So it's basically via the agricultural extension officers, right? Or also at universities, and then of course, I mean, Universitas Terbuka has the regional offices, right? So you could invite also the stakeholders at the regional provincial offices in order to have some brainstorming with them and to talk with them, right? And then, so Universitas Terbuka could, because due its unique role and organization within Indonesia, having offices everywhere, right? No other university has that. I mean, can have their very leading role, right?
Thank you, Dr. Ile.
Thank you, Mas Bayu and Dr. Ile. Is there any question? No? Okay. I will read the question from online participant.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Satiti from Gajah Mada University, and I would like to ask whether the MBG program significantly affect increase in raw materials prices, and what factors support and hinder its implementation?
Yeah, a very good question. Thank you very much for the very good question. Yes, and this is also, I go one slide back. Yeah, yes, I go one slide back. So this is also basically, I don't know, I don't have done research on that, right? I cannot answer the question, but I can point out this is one of those research needs which I basically listed here, right? So, I mean, and this is important, of course. Increase in prices, yeah, for farmers it's good, and for the other families, for consumers, that's bad. But assessing this question, I mean, this is also one of the research needs which are very important for Indonesia, I think. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, participant, no more question? Okay, the Q&A session is over. I will give a little bit of summarize of this visiting lecture. Whether sustainable school lunch program have strong potential to transform food system by improving nutrition, supporting local food supply chains, and promoting sustainable diets. There are cost-effective public investment, but their success depends on sound procurement, behavioral intervention, and sustainability monitoring, with specific support and stakeholder engagement. Such program can be effectively implemented in Indonesia. Thank you very much. Please give big applause for Dr. Ile. Thank you, Dr. Ile. Now we reach the end of this session. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Ile and also all participants who have attended both in person and virtually. Please accept our apologies for any shortcomings during this session. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now I hand the session back to the Master of Ceremony.
Okay, let's give another round of applause to our moderator and speaker. Dr. Ile, please remain in stage. Would you mind to stand up here in the center of this auditorium? And as a token of appreciation to our great speaker for delivering such an insightful knowledges, next we'll see the certificate award ceremony. And the certificate of appreciation will be delivered by the head of Agribusiness Study Program. Please welcome Dr. Andes Yan Hotman, MSE. Yeah, Mr. Yan will deliver certificate of appreciation to our great speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Rico Ile from Wageningen University and Research from Netherlands. Okay, would you mind to show it to the camera? Because we will have a documentation for this moment. Okay. Stop, okay. And we will count down from 3, 2, 1. Okay, and Mr. Jan Hartman will deliver a souvenir, a little present from Agribusiness Study Program, especially from Universitas Terbuka to Dr. Ile. Please receive the present, a little souvenir. And please, I would like to invite to all participants here again to come to the front to have a photo session with Dr. Ile and also our head of study program, our agribusiness study program, Mr. Jan Hotman. Mohon izin kepada Bapak Ibu untuk dapat maju ke depan. Kita akan melakukan sekali lagi sesi foto bersama dengan Dr. Ile. So we will have our second photo session together with our great honorable speaker, Dr. Ile, which coming from Wageningen University and Research Netherlands, who already delivered a presentation and knowledges about the potential of sustainable school lunches for food system transformation. And I would like to invite to all participants who already joining us virtually through Zoom meeting to open your camera because we will have a photo session together with all participants who joining us virtually. Oke, baik silakan kepada Bapak Ibu untuk dapat maju ke depan melakukan sesi foto bersama. Oke. Boleh dipercepat, mohon izin Bapak Ibu, please squeezing for a while, boleh merapat. Make it 2 lines like before, like the first photo session that we already have. Okay. Boleh merapat Bapak Ibu. Okay. And okay. The last one. Okay, and we will count down with a formal pose for the first photo session in 3, 2, 1. Okay, with the iconic pose of Universitas Terbuka. Dr. Ile, if you cannot You don't mind? Okay. Because you have to hold the certificate. Okay. In 3, 2, 1. Okay. The last pose is the special A pose from Agribusiness Study Program. Okay. We will count down from 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And I would like to announce that we have reached the end of today's event. On behalf of the Agribusiness Study Program and also Faculty of Science and Technology of Universitas Terbuka, we would like to extend our gratitude for the speaker and all of participants for your contributions on this event. And also, I would like to remind to all participants who joining us virtually using Zoom, don't forget to click the link to fill the attendance form that already shared by the committee. And we hope today's event become a great experience for you to share knowledges, experiences, and inspirations. Hope to see you. My name is Vera. Thank you and have a good day. See you on the next visiting lecture.
Tanah airku Indonesia, negeri elok amat ku cinta. Tanah tumpah darahku yang mulia, yang ku puja sepanjang masa.
Untuk Bapak Ibu seluruh dosen agribisnis, mohon untuk tetap berada di ruang auditorium.
Pulau kelapa yang
Dan lagi kami seluruh dosen program
melati pujaan bangsa sejak dulu kala. Aku bahagia di pandangan hidup sejahtera. saja